The October 14th, 2021 City of Southport Board of Aldermen meeting is called to order. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your attendance tonight, and thank you to those who are watching at home. Our invocation tonight will be from Reverend Gene Tomlinson. His father, Mr. Eugene Tomlinson, was a former mayor of Southport from 1963 until 1971, and then from 1973 to 1983. So 50 years ago, Reverend Gene's father was mayor. So after the invocation, will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
And thank you. From 50 years ago, just yesterday afternoon, and 50 years ago, we could eat at Ed's except on Thursdays. And he was closed for the Board of Aldermen meetings on Thursday. We like to think that. But the other thing was, 50 years ago, as a child growing up in Southport, we were going through a transitional period at that point in time. We were learning to be an integrated city. We had been segregated up to that point in time. And myself and Randy's brother, Robbie, and Lionel Caroon, and Steve Gainey, and Mike Dozier, Mike Royal, a bunch of us got sent to Frederick Military Academy because our parents didn't appreciate us making Long Beach Pier our homeroom for school. I think I got credit for going to school 52 days that year. But anyway, when we were at Frederick Military Academy, my English teacher, Captain Burt Morrison, signed my yearbook. And at that point in time, again, 50 years ago, Southport, shrimping, fishing, the end of 211 was our identity. And he signed my yearbook that year by saying, "Thank you for teaching me the true merits of a Southport existence." And I think that as we gather together, now we're looking at an election season here, that as you go into that, remember the merits of a Southport existence. Because yes, we're in transition, and yes, this is a time of integration now as well, because there's a whole lot of new folks in this town. And we all need to be able to remember, from our standpoint, the Potters, myself, you know, those that have been here forever and a day, Todd's family. We just kind of need to remember there's some characteristics, some merits to Southport that we just don't really want to compromise away. We want to keep Southport with the identity of Southport. And in saying that, I want to also say we had Leonard Bradshaw. Is that correct? Worked with the City Parks and Utilities, passed away this afternoon from COVID. Our condolences to that family. And then another longtime resident of Southport, one that many of us that went to school here, Ms. Mary Ann Gore, Grover Gore's wife, passed away yesterday as well. And we just want to lift up those families in prayer. Remember to just pray for the Lord to touch their hearts and bring healing and a peace in their lives that passes our understanding at this point in time. So, Father God, we thank you that we can come to you in the name of Jesus. Lord, we thank you for each of the people here. We thank you for the mayor, for the aldermen, for the city employees, for our police department, fire department. Father, we thank you that you've called on these folks for such a time as now to serve this city. And Lord, you know the plans that you have for Southport. You know the plans that you have for the people in Southport. And Lord, I pray that throughout this election season that these people show integrity and respect for one another. And Lord, that no matter which way the election results come in, that it's a way that we can see a path forward in Southport, and we can see a path forward that people will see and understand the true merits of a Southport existence. And in all of that, may we honor you with all our words, all our deeds, and all of our principles as this little city by the sea. Thank you, Lord, that you blessed us to be able to live in such a wonderful place with so many wonderful people. And for all of these things, we thank you, Lord, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Jean, for that blessing and for that part of Southport history. And again, remember in your prayers those who have passed, especially Leonard Bradshaw, one of our fellow colleagues and city employees. Item D will be public comment. Madam Clerk.
Wendy Douglas.
Welcome, Ms. Douglas. Make sure the microphone is on and you have your mask off. Good.
My name is Wendy Douglas. I live at 5013 Orlock Court in River Mist in Southport. And the recent appearance of survey stakes at the end of J. Swain Boulevard, which cuts through the River Mist community, has caused some scuttlebutt and conversation in our neighborhood. There has been talk over the years that J. Swain Boulevard may be extended to meet the 133 bypass. And I would like to know if the board has any knowledge of that for the future for River Mist.
I have no knowledge of that, so I think City Planner Thomas Lloyd, if you could answer that.
Yes, so Alderman Lombardi reached out to me a couple weeks ago about that exact issue, and I reached out to NCDOT's district office to see if they had any knowledge of any type of extension being done or any type of driveway being done on Cameron Management's property there, and they told me that no permits have been applied for. So as of right now, nothing's been applied for in that area. It could be that they're doing some preliminary surveying there, but we have not heard back on any type of extension through that at this time.
I'd like to know if we can request that in this pre-election climate, that if a road were to be proposed extending J. Swain Boulevard through the River Mist community to the 133 bypass, if a emergency-only gate could be considered, accessible by police, fire department, emergency management personnel, in the event of a neighborhood evacuation, or if it had to be opened up to an evacuation. I know that Southport Way has a similar emergency use only gate as another exit from their neighborhood. Is there any way we could get a pre-election commitment from the Board of Aldermen?
That decision is a NCDOT decision. We would not have any jurisdiction over that. Talking to our city attorney.
Okay, so you wouldn't have any input to that at all?
Not from what I understand from our city attorney, we would not.
Okay, would the board welcome revisiting this discussion with a collection of representatives from River Mist, should it get to that point?
Of course, we'd be happy to hear from River Mist, and of course, we would work with NCDOT. They do not just do things arbitrarily, so we would be involved. We just don't have control over it, but we would have input into it.
Okay, good, because I know a thoroughfare through our neighborhood could destroy River Mist. There would be untold truck traffic and car traffic wanting to cut through from 133 to 211. So thank you for keeping that in mind.
Thank you. Madam Clerk,
No one else on the list.
is there anyone else that is here that didn't sign up that would like to speak in public comment? Okay. All right. Thank you. Item F. Well, before item F, I will read the ethics statement. If any members know of any conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest concerning matters on the agenda, please so state at this time. Any conflicts? Okay, thank you. Item F, approval of the consent agenda. We have the No, I didn't. Excuse me. We didn't have enough public comment to remind me that it's time to approve the agenda. So let's do that. Approval of the agenda. You have it in front of you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Alderman Sharkey and second by Alderman Lombardi. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. We've read the ethics statement, and then item F, approval of the consent agenda. In the consent agenda, there are the minutes from the regular Board of Aldermen meeting from September 9th, 2021. Item 2 is authorization for a pump station generator purchase. That generator on East Leonard Street, that pump station needs to be, generator needs to be replaced. We have a bid for $45,200. This is an amount that's above what the city manager can authorize, so staff recommends that we approve this. And also the third item is a surplus police vehicle. It's a 2011 Dodge Charger. You have that in your packet, and they determined that it has no real value. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Alderman Mosteller, is there a second? Mr. Lombardi. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Item G, special recognition. I would first like to start with the introduction of the new police officers, and I will call on Chief Coring.
Thank you, Mayor and Board and citizens. Welcome. Just wanted to take a minute tonight to introduce some new officers to our force. Want to take this time while the community was here for our meeting, and standing behind me, I'll start with this is Kelly Garrido. She comes to us with experience from Wilmington PD. Officer Amanda Cobbs comes to us with experience from Ballhead Island, and Kevin Daugherty comes to us from Virginia with experience at some sheriff's offices there. Kelly and Kevin are both full-time officers, and Amanda is a part-time officer who works with us. These two young ladies live in the city, and Kevin has bought a residence here out on 133 in the Leland area, so we just wanted to welcome them. We are fully staffed at this time. Two of these officers fill one of our retirees in an open position that we had, so I just want to take this time and introduce them to our community, and we appreciate your support, and thank you.
It's wonderful to see new officers, and I think we're at a full staff now. Is that correct, City Manager? We are full in terms of our police? Full staff now. I was asking you a question. Yes. Okay, yes. Yeah. We have a full staff, and that's great. That is a blessing, so thank you. Next item under special recognition, we have 5, and we'll start with the first one is to recognize Frank Poplar's Board of Adjustment. Mr. Poplars, if you would come up, and Peggy, you certainly can come up with him if you'd like. I'm going to let you say a couple of words first about being on the board.
Well, thank you for the recognition tonight. And as many of you know, I've been on the board for about 10 or 12 years, and I've had excellent board members. Matter of fact, we have a couple of graduates here tonight. One standing behind me was on my board, and Tom over here was also on our board. So we have managed to elevate a few of us to a more responsible position. But they've all been great board members, and I really appreciate all the support I had during that period. Thank you.
Have a plaque for you. It says here, presented to Frank Poplar. Thank you for 9 years of dedicated service to the city of Southport, 2012 to 2021.
as many of you know, Peggy and I are not part of the city proper. We're very, very connected to the city and feel very active within the city because we enjoy working with the city projects, the committees, and all the programs that the city has provided us an opportunity to do. We will continue doing that and just enjoy working with the city staff and everyone associated with the city. So thank you for those opportunities.
I have 4 proclamations to read. One that we read every year. We're wearing pink this month. Our city employees are. And this is the City of Southport proclamation in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is an annual campaign to increase awareness of this disease. Whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month remains dedicated to increasing public knowledge about the importance of early detection and treatment. And whereas it is estimated by the National Cancer Institute there will be 281,550 new cases of breast cancer in 2021, and 43,600 will die from the disease. And whereas due to improved early detection with advanced technology, such as 3D mammography, which is available at Dozier Memorial Hospital, and through medical research with more innovative therapeutics and surgical intervention available, there is a 90% 5-year survival rate as compared to 80% in 1990. Whereas with utilization of annual screening, early detection, and advanced therapies, breast cancer patients are living longer. And now, therefore, the City of Southport Board of Aldermen would like to recognize breast cancer survivors and those battling the disease. We wish to honor and celebrate their resolve and their resilience. We also recognize the family members and friends who are also affected by this disease and are an inexhaustible source of support and comfort. We all hope for the day when medicine and its institutions, including the National Cancer Institute, Sloan Kettering, MD Anderson, as well as university medical schools such as UNC School of Medicine at Chapel Hill, will find a cure. Whereas the Board of Aldermen, city manager, city attorney, city employees, and the citizens of Southport will wear pink ribbons and pink clothing, including pink Chuck Taylor All-Stars, to honor and celebrate our neighbors, family, and friends who are breast cancer survivors, and quietly mourn and remember those we have lost. Therefore, I, Dr. Joseph P. Hayden, Mayor of the City of Southport, do hereby recognize all of those who have been affected. I encourage all citizens, agencies, organizations, and groups to participate in activities that will increase awareness, support prevention, early detection, treatment, and research concerning breast cancer, and do so hereby proclaim October 2021 Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And this is something close to all of us, and in particular Alderman Allen, who last year spoke quite eloquently about his mother and also my mother, both died from metastatic disease. So one day this scourge will be eradicated. Our next proclamation, something close to my heart as well, a proclamation in recognition of Emergency Nurses Week, October 12th through October 18th. Whereas there are approximately 90,000 emergency nurses in the United States who have expertise in caring for all emergency patients across the spectrum of the lifespan, ushering life in at birth and allowing for dignified death. And whereas emergency nurses are highly trained to recognize life-threatening problems and solve them on the spot, playing a vital role in treating patients in emergency situations, caring for those most in need, and saving lives daily. And whereas these characteristics provide a broad scope of practice for the delivery and the complex care within a limited time frame to healthcare consumers of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas through research, education, and emergency nursing advocacy, the Emergency Nurses Association supports and honors the advancement of professionalism of emergency nurses everywhere. Now let us join together to honor the extraordinary acts of service, compassion, and commitment that emergency nurses provide to patients every day, and especially to honor the emergency nurses at J. Arthur Dozier Memorial Hospital. Now therefore, I, Joseph P. Hatem, Mayor, do hereby proclaim October 12th through 18th, 2021 as Emergency Nurses Week. Thank you. Our nurses do a wonderful job, and they have had to work under extreme circumstances, as you know, but they have been so courageous, and I will let them know how much we all appreciate them, so thank you. The next proclamation, also dear to all of us, is preserving the history and the heritage of Southport. And so I'm very honored to read this proclamation, and I would like to call up the members that are here. Judy Gordon, Board Chair of the John Smith Cemetery. Please come up. Yes. Eddie Davis. Alexis Graves. Sandra Jackson. Emma Miles. Andrew Parks. Lena Tobler, Gordon Walker, Wendell Watson, Ellie DeYoung, and Madam Alderman Lowe Davis, if you would come up, please. City of Southport proclamation to celebrate the John N. Smith Museum opening. Whereas the John N. Smith Cemetery is named in honor of the first person known to have been buried there and is the final resting place for at least 1,725 local African Americans who together represent an essential component of Southport's collective memory and history. Whereas the nonprofit John N. Smith Cemetery Restoration and Preservation Incorporated has created the John N. Smith Cemetery Outdoor Museum to highlight the history and contributions of some of those earliest African American citizens of Southport. And whereas interred in this cemetery are former slaves, farmers, fishermen, teachers, businessmen, laborers, domestic servants, nurses, and veterans dating from the Civil War and every other subsequent military campaign. Whereas the John N. Smith Cemetery Outdoor Museum gives visitors the opportunity to see the connections between the present and the past and to recognize how historical events connect all races. Therefore, the mayor and the aldermen of the city of Southport, North Carolina, hereby thank and congratulate the John N. Smith Cemetery Restoration and Preservation Incorporated on the official opening on Saturday, October 16th, 2021, of the John N. Smith Outdoor Museum. Congratulations to this committee. And there will be a ceremony this Saturday on the 16th. It will be at 10 a.m. At the cemetery. We encourage all our citizens to attend. Our last proclamation in recognition of the National Colonial Heritage Month. Whereas the Lord Craven chapter of the National Society Colonial Dames of North Carolina is locally sponsoring National Colonial Heritage Month during the month of October 2021. And whereas the National Colonial Heritage Month brings to mind the first courageous settler who arrived in America and who determined the direction for the formation of our country. Whereas the members of this society, by virtue of their lineal descent from those early arrivals, feel an obligation to work for the preservation of the priceless legacy that these early arrivals left to all American citizens. And whereas they continue to convey the true meaning of the inheritance by reminding us that our privilege to live in a free country has stemmed from loving our country, obeying its laws, respecting its flag, and defending it against all enemies. End of quote. Now, therefore, I, Joseph P. Hayden, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Southport, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 as National Colonial Heritage Month in the city of Southport, and encourage all citizens of the city of Southport to observe this month as a means of reinforcing the priceless legacy that we inherit from our citizenship in order to help preserve our rich culture and heritage with deep respect for the principles upon which our great country was founded.
The next special recognition that we'll observe tonight will be for the City of Southport's Finance Department. If y'all would like to come on up here, please. I know you don't want to, but you have to. For those of y'all that don't know, for the last several years, the Southport Finance Department has been classified as a distressed unit by the Local Government Commission. This is not a classification that we want. Through due diligence and process improvement, the City Finance Department has been removed from this list. I would like to recognize Melanie Trexler and her staff for a job well done. When I call your name, please raise your hand. Melanie Trexler. Teresa Parker, Teresa Jones, Angie Bates, Katie Boyd, Brandon Stevens, and Kelly Cochran. She's not here tonight. So as the leader of the operations of the city of Southport, these are the things that really make me proud to see people rise to the challenge when we have these kind of obstacles in front of us. This is a great, great achievement by our finance department, and I would just like to tell them thank you for a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove, and again, congratulations to the Finance Department staff for their great work. Next item on our agenda will be the community building rate updates, and I will call on Alderman Laura Sharkey.
I'm going to ask that Elena Dial come up and go to the podium so as questions arise, she can easily answer and be heard on the microphone. Background on this topic is the community building that we are sitting in operates as a multi-function kind of facility, and there was discussion prior to the pandemic and the closure in which we had to endure because of the disease, that maybe we should be adjusting the rates to better cover our expenditures associated with this building. So Elena had come in as the new manager for our facility, and she did some research, and then she made a presentation to the rate committee, which consists of myself, Karen Mosteller, and John Allen. And so tonight we bring this presentation basically to the full board, and then there's going to be consideration of a rate adjustment, a schedule adjustment for the building to better compensate, for what it's costing us to have this building. So I'm going to go ahead and read through the presentation since we don't have our audiovisual equipment yet. It is being worked on, I guarantee it. But I'm just going to read through the slides that basically the aldermen have in front of them so you know what we've considered. So first off, Elena has a slide that said building goals. And we do need to discuss in the future, not tonight, but in the future, what this building is going to be. Should it be primarily for events? Should it be primarily for community use? Is it a combination of both? And whichever model we finally decide on, that'll dictate how rates are used and how it's scheduled for use in the future. But that's not a tonight discussion, that's a future discussion. Right now, she describes us as a community model city building. So we are something that's a combination of nonprofit users, event users, meetings for city business. The reopening that we had, there was some changes that she decided to put in place because of the reopening and to manage, how the building is used. So we are no longer considering Sundays as a hourly rate use. Minimum hours have been removed from language so that when she advertises for wedding use and everything, they can be used in a 12-hour block, which helps us with our compensation. Saturday and Sunday language was removed from the deck-only rates, as we actually want to discourage people from using the deck on Saturdays and Sundays because we can actually make more money if it's attached to other events, whether inside the building and on the deck. So, previous language was that non-residents could rent the building for $3,900 per day, which is a 12-hour block Friday through Sunday, $1,800 for 6 hours Monday through Thursday. Residents, city employees, or nonprofit organizations, the price was $1,800 per day, which is a 12-hour day, Friday through Saturday, and a 50-hour per hour Sunday through Thursday rate. And then we also allowed that deck-only usage. So what's been changed to now, how she's advertising the building, $3,900 per day, 12-hour block Friday through Sunday, $1,800 per day, 12 hours Monday through Thursday, non-residents. Residents, city employees, nonprofits, $1,800 per day, 12-hour block Friday through Sunday, $50 per hour Monday through Thursday, and then deck only, a rate of $125 per 4-hour block for residents or $150 for non-residents, same amount of time. We need to recover more money to run this facility, pay our cleaning costs, and pay staff to be here, maintain the building. So right now, she listed the events that are scheduled for October, and we have an estimated $13,837,000 that'll come in revenue. But what it's going to cost us is $3,344 to clean it, staff it, and all those things. So she's giving us these examples of how our pay scale is not helping us maintain and staff the building. So cleaning is costing more than it used to. The rates that we pay for somebody to be here staff-wise is more than it used to. So this is the motivation for adjusting the rates. The next page it says reopening. It talks about the difference between our revenue of $13,837 and our cost of $3,344. So we supposedly net $10,492, which for a building like this is a fairly low amount to net. Elena has proposed these adjustments. Non-residents, the cost would be $4,000 per day, which is a 12-hour block, Friday through Sunday. $350 per hour, Friday through Sunday, and those would be events under 12 hours. If you're going to have it 12 hours, then you pay the $4,000. $2,000 per day, 12-hour block, Monday through Thursday, and then an hourly rate of $175. Weddings are required to book for a 12-hour block, regardless of the day of the week. The language has also been changed to clarify better for people who's a resident and who isn't. We all know that the zip code of 28461 encompasses a much greater area than the city limits. So we have some people that assume that they are city residents and they're entitled to a city rate. So to make this more clear, the building will now be advertised for taxpayers, city employees, and nonprofits to clarify really who is deserving the lower rate. $2,000 per day, a 12-hour day, Friday through Sunday. $175 per hour, Friday, Sunday events under 12 hours. $1,000 per day, 12 hours, Monday through Thursday. $75 per hour, Monday through Thursday, events under 12 hours. Same requirement for weddings to book a 12-hour block. And then the deck could be used by residents for $125, 4-hour block, non-residents, non-taxpayers, $150, 4-hour block. When we compare, and she has a full page of comparisons, we can easily see that these prices that she's recommending we change to are in line with other venues surrounding us. In fact, I looked at the Oak Island 801 Center, that's there where the pier is. Right now, in season, so they have an in-season rate and an out-season rate. Their in-season rate for residents is $200 an hour. So if you have a 12-hour block, you're going to pay $3,600. And non-taxpayers, then they're paying, $300 per hour for 12 hours. So that's the $3,600. I'm sorry. So $200 would be less for a resident. Non-taxpayer hours are $300 and $400. So a non-taxpayer that wants to rent that facility over on Oak Island is going to pay $4,800 for a 12-hour wedding. So our prices are going to be still much lower than that, but we are comparing ourselves to a city-supported facility and not just at-profit type of facility. Just to set another page that shows the comparison, non-residents, it just summarizes 4,000, 2,000, taxpayers, city resident or city employees 2,000, nonprofits 2,000 or $75 an hour. What's provided, the capacity is 160 people, and we have tables and chairs that'll be provided as we always have. And she also provided us some information about what she's doing for the future and how she's promoting the building. She has done a lot already in working with Google advertising to increase our area that we reach out to have other people interested in this facility. She's going to hold the first wedding show here in the facility in February. So I think people are really looking forward to that. And she is continuing to work on communications to let people know about the building, what's available, and what events are happening here. So with that, I would like to open it up to the aldermen if they have questions for Elena about the proposed rate increases.
I do. Can I be heard, and Randy? Okay. All right. About the deck only. For weddings, a wedding that's in this building, they would have to also separately rent the deck?
No.
The 12-hour block for a wedding includes indoor as well as outdoor spaces. The deck only is for members of the community who only want the deck for whatever purpose they want the deck.
So if there's a wedding going on in the building, they have the deck?
Yes.
Okay, because the deck is primo wedding photo.
Right.
Opportunity, you know, and I can't imagine trying to keep people off there if they're in here enjoying a wedding reception. Thank you.
Okay, I've got to ask a crazy question. I've been approached by strangers walking down the street who want to know if I'm a resident of Southport to come and rent this building, or how do we prevent that? Any ideas on that?
Prevent people from, I'm sorry, could you?
It would basically, strangers will solicit people to find a resident to get away from this $4,000 a day. So the liability is on the resident. Is there any checks and balances there? Is there any way we can, it happens.
So what I've started doing as taking over the building, there are two things that have happened. One of which is we have opened up to clarifying who counts as a taxpayer. So we now include renters as part of that. They have to provide me with the first page of their lease, showing that their lease agreement goes through the date of their wedding. And the second thing is that if you are a taxpayer, then you have to provide me with your most recent paid tax bill showing your name on it. We do allow family members to rent for other family members. That has always been part of our language, but they still have to provide me with a copy of their most recent tax bill, and their signature has to be on the contract when signing up to use our rental facility.
Has to be some kind of legal connection with the people that you're sponsoring, some
Yes.
kind of a family relationship.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for your hard work on this.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
If there's no further questions, I'd like to move that we adopt the ordinance that's sitting on our tables. It's got a highlight of yellow on it. Ordinance to amend the schedule of fees in regards to the community building.
A motion, is there a second? Second by Alderman Mosteller. Any further discussion on this? It looks like if you're a taxpayer or a city employee and you get married on Monday through Thursday, you get the best deal. Is that right? So I'm just thinking ahead. And that's good. I mean, that's great. Any other further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the wedding motion carried. Thank you. Good report, Alderman Sharkey. Thank you for the work on that. The next item on our agenda is the Haven Subdivision, and I'll call on Mr. Thomas Lloyd.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Give me one moment. All right, so this is the final plat approval for the Haven subdivision, and this is a R10 zone subdivision at the intersection of Burrington and Leonard, and the average lot size of this subdivision is 12,580 square feet. The smallest lot size is 10,030, so it meets our 10,000 square foot minimum requirements for that zoning district. The lots have 25 feet front setbacks, 8-foot side yard setbacks, and 20 feet rear yard setbacks. All the dimensions of the lots, as well as the property lines on the final plat, match the preliminary plat. In terms of open space, they are not required to designate any open space for this size subdivision, being that it's only 8 lots. Any subdivision over 20 or more lots in R10 has to has to designate open space. In terms of their improvements, subdivisions, infrastructure is required to be installed, inspected, and approved prior to the final plat. All of these improvements are at the subdivider's expense. We have received a sealed report from the project engineer, Justin Bishop, certifying that the streets, stormwater systems, and the water and sewer systems have been built in compliance with the approved plans and with the city's standards. Port Haven Way is a 40-foot right-of-way that will be privately maintained by the Homeowners Association, and it has been constructed in accordance with NCDOT's standards, which is what our standards are. The asphalt passed an asphalt mix test as well as a core density test, and the engineer has also certified the stormwater management system with the state. Their system consists of a drainage system that drains into an off-site pond that is shared with the village at Southport BOA. They entered an agreement with them to use excess capacity that they had in their stormwater management pond. The final plat shows that 25-foot drainage easement. So when you're looking at that plat, it shows where the easement is to maintain that drainage way and that pipe. The water and sewer systems, like I said before, have been certified and have been permitted and tested by the design engineer, Justin Bishop, and that has been sent off to the state as well. Underground electric has also been installed by Brunswick Electric, and inspection was completed on site by the Public Works Director, Tom Stanley, on September 28th, and then by myself on October 5th. The only changes that were requested were concrete collars around the sewer lateral cleanouts, and those improvements have been furnished. The subdivider is also required to furnish us with as-built drawings with the final plat, and we have those as well. I really don't have anything else to say regarding this. I think it meets our standards for recordation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the project engineer, Justin Bishop, along with the developer, Terry Ando, is also here. So if there's any questions for them, they're here as well.
Any questions for Mr. Lloyd or any questions from the Board of Aldermen? Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. I will then entertain a motion to approve the final plat for the Haven. Alderman Mosteller, is there a second? Second by Mr. Lombardi. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the Ncdot Crosswalks. This is an important project for our city. We promote connectivity. We promote pedestrian safety. I was able to have a conversation with Mr. Chad Kimes, the Mayor Pro Tem. Mosteller and I talked to him this past week. And then I had a phone conversation. I called Representative Charlie Miller, and we talked about the funding for this project. The project with the bump outs, which is an extension of the curbing, which helps promote safety. It shortens the length of the crosswalk and that type thing. It is more expensive, but I think it's worthwhile to do. And he has assured me that there are contingency funds that we will have that we can use to build this out properly to promote maximum safety. So I want to thank Representative Miller for that, and I will call on Mr. Gordon Hargrove for further discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My initial concern with this project was the availability of funds, that if we waited to see if the contingency funds would be available, that they would disappear over time while we waited for them. I had a conversation with Mr. Kimes this morning. He assured me that those funds were stable for the next couple of years and we could take our time in making this decision. At this point, I would like to bring up Chief Todd Coring to talk about the location of these crosswalks and some of the dynamics that go along with them. The two crosswalks are slated to be at Davis and Moore, and the other one would be at Howe and West Street and East West Street.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove, and again, Board and Mayor. So Mr. Hargrove asked me to take a look at both of these areas. Since being the police chief, again, I've noticed an increase of pedestrian traffic in our downtown area, pretty much citywide for that matter. I know we've heard earlier in the meeting this week about the increase of traffic that we are seeing, both motoring and pedestrian. And early on, myself and Alderman Sharkey, it was early on, I can't remember how long ago it was, we actually stood up a demonstration of what this crosswalk, the first one we could talk about would be the one on Moore Street, and I believe you all have that in front of you. She, I think, connected with AARP, I believe, and they brought us down some materials, and we kind of went out and put this actual crosswalk in and kind of drew it out, pretty much what you see here. I do support these both. I actually support several crosswalks that I see that we need because, again, I'm looking at safety, and we can always say that, you know, well, Chief, we haven't had anybody hit or hurt on Howe Street, or we haven't had anybody hit or hurt on, you know, Bay Street, but I would rather us, we know we have an increase and we have an issue. I would rather us try to be proactive and address these now, certainly with this funding available, than rather reactive as we have someone hit, like one of our neighboring communities recently. I believe last summer when Carolina Beach had an individual struck, and I think it was a fatal strike in their downtown area, and it brought me to our main intersection here. And as a matter of fact, myself and Major Burke went down and spent the afternoon looking at it to make sure it's as safe as we can make it. So I do support these. The unfortunate thing, of course, I know that parking is a commodity. We don't want to lose parking. Everybody always is concerned about that. And it's unfortunate seeing the way they would do this. We would lose some parking spaces, but I do think that it's something that we could live with. Now, this is just me, and so I say that lightly. I know that some folks would, I know our businesses don't want to lose parking either, but again, I'm just looking at a safety aspect. So, you know, on Moore Street right here behind us, the parallel parking in front of the old City Hall that sits across from us now, I believe we would see the most spaces there. I looked at it today. It was actually fully filled with parking today, and there's 4 vehicles parked there now. Part of this that they've got drawn out is already it's already defined, and so some of this area, so 4 parking spaces it looks like in front of the old City Hall would be lost due to this. And then going across in front of Dozier Flea Market, the way they've got it drawn here, it looks like 2 or 3 spaces, but actually we would lose 1 space because the majority of that is already dedicated and painted out. And then jumping over on the Moore Street Market side, there's nothing really there as far as parking. There may be 1 parking space there, but again, when I looked at it, when you physically go and look at it, I think there's enough area that they could actually draw that out without us losing a space there. So that's possibly, so we're looking at definitely, I think 5 spaces for that. So again, that's the only downside to us moving forward with this. So it would certainly be at the pleasure of you folks to decide that, and certainly hearing from our citizens. Because again, I do understand that. I want everybody to know that. Please understand that I understand parking is very critical. So that is the one on Moore Street. And moving to the second one, that is on Howe Street at the intersection of West-West. Again, that is a very crowded area that we're seeing a lot of pedestrian traffic. Really, me growing up here, it was always this focal area, this area right here in Howe and Moore. But we've got traffic all the way out, you know, Howe Street now, all the way out to 9th Street. I mean, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of businesses, which is great. So again, we need more of these as well, and I've also spoke with Mr. Chad as well and different folks, and so they supported it, of course, funding it. But this is also something I think would be very, very good for us to have, and it looks like 3 spaces here possibly if they put it on the side that they are choosing to do it. You could also, if you look back and bumped it on the other side right here and I'm sorry the folks in the audience can't see this, but it's at the intersection of West and Howe Street. They've drawn it right there in front of the school, the Trinity Methodist building going across on the other side where the business is. So it looks like there's 3 spaces, 2 in front of the school there, the Trinity building, and then 1 on the other side. But again, looking at that, they may not lose a parallel space there because the way that turn is, there's not really a spot dedicated there for parking now, so there's possibly just 2 spaces that we would lose with this design that you see drawn here before you now. You could also look at them moving it back on the other side, on the Franklin Square Park side, if folks came down West Street on the side where the bank is and they crossed directly over. I'm not too sure that we would lose maybe but 1 parking space if they put it on that side, so that may be something we could talk with them on. So I hope this is helpful for you folks, and again, parking I know is something that we need and we hate to have to lose, but that's the only downside I see to this. I think it will greatly help, and as far as safety for our citizens and our visitors, this is a great step forward. I can answer any questions, I'm sorry.
Questions for Chief Goring?
I've got a
question,
ton
but
of
I don't know-
questions about it. I have to say, I'm not sure I understand what I'm looking at, and I cannot imagine how confusing this must be to all of the public who don't have this in front of you. I trust we're going to not take action tonight and are going to produce ways for the public to come and see this on display and have input on this, right? Right?
We have, discussed this before because Mr. Kimes came and gave a presentation when the public was here and the board was here. What we'd like to do is to take action on it, so should those funds become available, we're ready to do the project.
But didn't I just hear that the funds would be available for 2 years? Okay. To ask questions, looking at Moore Street, East Moore Street, at the crosswalk from Davis Street over to the other side where Dozier Flea Market is. Okay, there is solid red filled in, and then there's red with hash marks. What does that mean?
I think it's all, if I can speak for that they're actually all supposed to be blocked out. It's just showing you the parking spaces that would be taken up. The reason that cluster in front of the flea market or Dozier Flea Market looks so red is because that's just an area, a larger area. That's where I was saying, if you look at that, Alderman Davis, it looks like they would lose like 2 parking spaces, but the majority of that right now is already blocked off in front of, so it looks like we'd lose 1 parking space there. But all of these, everything you see in red, with the exception of they've written the street names in red, is showing you where the spaces, where the parking would be eliminated.
Okay, question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a painted blocking out of parking spaces, or is this cement?
It's all
Where
painted.
people can stand and look both ways before they cross?
About is an extension of the curbing, and so that would allow, more protection. It also prevents someone parking there, so this decreases visual problems, right, Chief?
Right.
Blind spots, that type of thing. It shortens the path between point A and point B. So there would be this, it's an extension of the curbing, if you could think of it that way.
Yeah, it defines that. It would define it better, because one thing we need to keep in mind as well is when you're coming in on Moore Street into downtown, the road has a curve. And
Yes.
right now, we're already seeing, today I had to get out and we had an illegally parked vehicle there. There's a fire hydrant there on the corner as well, but people want to park so heavily in there. And what people are doing is when they're coming up Davis Street from like Nash Street, the post office are coming up, they're having to edge so far out onto the road, they're sticking out because the parking is so congested. So even though we would lose some spaces along there, again, it's going to help folks that are trying to navigate that part of our roadway, because they're having to watch for that traffic and people are zipping in there, and they're looking for people walking and that kind of thing. So it would help define it, is what it would
Okay.
mainly do.
I understand that, and that's good, but people who are coming into town and want to get down to the fishing dock, the fishing pier, people who are coming east on Moore will be turning down Davis Street at the Moore Street Market.
Right.
And it does not appear to me that there's going to be any kind of a bump out or elimination of parking, which means, from personal experience, I have to say, almost every time I've come along there, there have been people having to step out into the street. You know, you don't even know they're there until they're in the street because they can't see cars going east, and cars going east, the drivers can't see them until they're in the street.
Right.
So it seems to me that in addition to a bump out and protection over on the Dozier flea market side, we also need it in front of Moore Street Market. I realize that's a loss of another parking space.
It will be there as well. It's darker right there, Alderman Davis, to see that, but they do have that same bump out in front of Moore Street Market. Because what it's going to do, I wish I could kind of draw it out, but it's actually going to define that sidewalk and that structure narrowly so they won't have to stand. You would actually see them standing in this safe zone, if you will, and it'll make the road more defined right there, that intersection. That's what these are designed to do.
Okay. Now, over on the other side, which is Howe and West-West, again, this would be a bump out so that cars coming east on West-West would not have to drive out into the road to see what's coming south.
It would give them an area, kind of like you could kind of envision like a little waiting area where they can see and we can see them, the motoring public can see them and they can see better. If this could happen, it would allow them that opportunity where they wouldn't have to step out into a parking space and things that they're doing now.
Thank heavens.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I have a question about, I guess I'm confused on, if we choose to do the painted, does that mean we forfeit the bump outs? Or, that's what I'm trying to understand, because the way I heard it when Mr. Kimes was here, I thought he was offering the painted version could go in immediately.
Right, that's my understanding as well.
If we accept that, do we also still qualify for later improvements with the bump out? That's all my question.
My knowledge, yes, they've got our full intention. I think this is something they can do now to get us in that direction, and they already know that we're waiting for the funding to define it further.
Funds should be available for the Maximal project. City Manager.
Could you say that again? I didn't understand. I didn't hear.
The funds are going to be available to do the Maximal project.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask the city manager to just sort of confirm the language in which he discussed it with Mr. Kimes today.
It's my understanding after my conversation with Mr. Kimes this morning that he would like to do both projects. He would like to do it all at once. He doesn't want to come in and do the painting now and come back in a few months and do the bump outs. He would like to do the entire project at one time.
That's awesome.
Let's tell the public who Mr. Hines is.
He was here, and he's been here he gave us a presentation about 2 weeks ago, and he is with Ncdot. He is an engineer, and he is assigned to this area.
So I have a couple of questions. I don't know, either Gordon or Chief Coring. The area in front of Old City Hall and St. Philip's Chapel, that's a new curb will actually be laid some distance from the existing curb, is that correct? So that red hatched area
I think,
represents
sir,
that?
Yes, sir. I looked at that area. It kind of piqued my interest as well. There's actually a fire hydrant on that corner, Mr. Allen, so that area also is already not a parkable area, if you kind of understand what I mean. I think they're just going to define that a little more is what that's going to be.
Well, my question is, if we have it would appear from this drawing, and I know it's not to scale, but it looks like we're going to have a fairly significant area between the sidewalk and the new curb. So is that going to be, I assume we're going to be able to, what, put dirt in there and plant grass on it? Is that correct? Is that what that's going
I
to
believe so,
look
yes, sir.
like?
Yes, sir.
I mean,
They'll fill
that's-
it in. Yes, sir.
Means there's no parking in front of the whole City Hall area?
Right, where you see that red right there, that's the area we were saying with the cars.
And we lose how many parking spaces?
There's 4 spaces in front of that area.
Okay.
I'm also a little confused about the price. Gordon, can you help me with that? Because I don't, it says, we got a lot of numbers on here. What's the individual sheets says, I don't understand, 139,000, but it looks like that's both the full work and the paint work combined, but then the introductory sheet has a much smaller number. I'm confused.
The most accurate number is if you'll look at the Eastmore and Davis Street project. If we only do the marking, the painted marking, it will be $15,730. They have the funds available for that now. If we can access the contingency funds that we've almost been assured that will be available, that entire project cost will be $123,964.50. That will include the marking work as well. On the House Street and West Street project, the marking, if we just do the paint, will be $13,640. If we do the concrete bump outs there, it will be $83,077.50. It's going to be right at $236,357 for both projects combined.
It'd be 124 and 83, right? And is that 207?
$39,694. No, that would be completely funded by DOT.
Is the requested action tonight that we make a motion to move forward with this pending full funding from DOT?
I think that, I'm for that, of going ahead and making a motion to move forward pending the funding.
Can I just make a comment about that? In my conversation with Mr. Kimes this morning, he did ask that the city move forward with a motion to accept this project contingent with the additional funds, because that way, when the funds were accessed, we could move forward quickly.
I'm not comfortable with us making a decision tonight without the public having a chance to see what we're doing. Why can't we have a special called meeting next week or soon thereafter where the public gets a chance to look at this? I mean, I don't believe anybody in the audience knows what we're looking at. Anybody have this? I mean, this is, oh, you all do? Well, I stand corrected. I will be happy to vote tonight. I make a motion that
A motion on the table, and Mr. Hargrove would like to make a comment.
I would like to comment that this is a DOT planned engineered project. This is not a city engineered project. There are highly qualified engineers that have designed this project, so I feel comfortable moving forward with it as long as we can access the contingency funds.
We do have a motion, and Mr. Kimes presented this at our board meeting, and the public, has seen it. I mean, maybe not everyone comes to the meetings, but if they looked at it online and that type thing. So, and this is an NCDOT project. That's an NCDOT road, so the engineering will be done by them. I don't think we have a lot of say-so in it, and we have to trust them, and we do, that they will do a good project. And I'm just grateful we have the funding to do the one that's most protective to our pedestrians, tourists, citizens, and that type of thing. So we have a motion to go forward with the NCDOT project for these crosswalks on House Street and also on Moore Street, with the knowledge that contingency funds are available for the maximal cost for the project, for the bump outs. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Sharkey. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. That's the mentality that everyone should have, but unfortunately, folks are in a hurry sometimes, but we also honor that same code. Yes, ma'am. So. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's why it's important to have more of these crosswalks, because you're technically, I mean, for example, at Moore and Howe Street, we have the push button cross, but by law, if you enter that intersection, whether it's flashing for them to walk or not, if they have stepped into that crosswalk, we are supposed to grant them the right of way. It's just a safe thing to do. But people, again, have different habits and hang-ups and in a hurry and that kind of thing, and it catches some off guard. But we are a yield state, yes, ma'am. So we should do that. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you, Board and Mayor. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Coring. Good discussion, everyone. Next item on our agenda, committee reports. Start with Alderman Allen.
I can't get this thing on. Thank you, Mayor. I just quickly want to remind everybody that early voting actually started today, and encourage everybody to get out and vote. Since this is just a municipal election year, the early voting is only out at the county courthouse complex. I think it's building. Yeah, well, I think actual voting site is at the cooperative extension office, which I think is building in. And it's from now until October 30th. The only weekend voting day is Saturday, October 30th. Otherwise, it's Monday through Friday. And then obviously on Election Day, November 2nd, it'll be available at your usual polling place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Sharkey.
Rate Committee was scheduled to meet a little while ago, and unfortunately one of the essential people that needed to be there had a death in her family. And now that the audit is due by the end of the month, we're not going to be able to reschedule that meeting until November. So, but once the date is selected, it will be advertised, so it will be an open meeting. And the purpose really would be to discuss adjustments to the water rate schedule to deal with the increased cost that's coming to us from Brunswick County. So as soon as that date's determined, we will advertise it.
Thank you. Mr. Spencer, Alderman Spencer.
I really appreciate you putting me on the ABC board. I hadn't had a drink in 23 years, and I guess you figured the product was safe with me. They had a meeting and changed it and didn't call me, so I have no report, but they say that everybody is continually consuming the product, so we're in good shape.
Best report. Good job, Alderman. Alderman Davis.
Forestry Committee met yesterday, as a matter of fact. I hope everybody reads the city newsletter because forestry always has an article in there, and they're very interesting, useful to everyone who's interested in trees, of course, but if you have questions such as what kind of trees can I plant, what are native to this area and what are not, and so on. But the big news is forestry will, as usual, have a table and displays at the Wooden Boat Show on November the 6th. Come by and see us. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Lombardi.
Oh, with beautification, we had our cleanup last Saturday, or the first Saturday, and we were blessed to have 10 high school students among the 32 people that showed up. We spruced up the plants around the boat and secured that, and we stained benches and picnic tables and garbage can enclosures at Franklin Square Park. And that's it. We'll have our meeting coming up on Monday. Everybody is welcome.
Thank you, Alderman Lombardi. Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller.
Thank you, sir. First, the planning board will be meeting at its regularly scheduled time next Thursday at 6 p.m. here in the community building. Of course, everyone is encouraged to attend. Among other items, the planning board will be discussing update recommendations for the tree ordinance to help define and clarify language related to tree removal mitigation requirements. And I just want to again mention the streetlight, keep everybody aware of what's going on with the streetlight committee. Previously, public discussion at our public discussion, it was decided that we would do a workshop about the policy, and in order to make that future workshop more productive, the city will be creating a demonstration that includes 3 light fixtures, all P20 model fixtures with different color temperatures, 4,000, 3,000, and 2,700 degrees Kelvin. The demonstration will be an opportunity for citizens to evaluate the same fixtures with varying color temperatures for input to help finalize the policy selection. The manufacturer has given the city a delivery date of the middle of November for the demo fixtures. As soon as the lights are installed, the city will put out notification, and once the demonstration's active, then we can schedule the workshop. In the meantime, if citizens have any questions about streetlight policy, you can reach out to Alderman Davis, Alderman Sharkey, or myself with any questions or concerns about the streetlight policy.
Right, thank you.
And wait, there's more. With regard to Parks and Recreation, the city is expecting to receive the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality's stormwater permit for the Taylor Field Park project by the middle of next month. This is the final piece needed to complete the bid packet and to move this project forward. So just want to keep everybody aware of that. And now for the fun part. It's time for the annual Parks and Recreation Halloween Carnival. For those with goblins and ghosts, ages 5 to 12, please mark your calendars for Friday, October 22nd. The Halloween Carnival will begin at 5 p.m. at the Parks and Recreation Center on Atlantic Avenue. The carnival will feature a Halloween costume contest that starts at 5:30, and Halloween-themed games and crafts, and the ever-popular Halloween hayride. There will be treats and prizes for everyone. Again, Friday, October 22nd at 5 p.m. Thank you.
It's a great report. Thank you. Next will be our manager's report. Mr. Hargrove.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two pieces of news tonight. It is my understanding that early next week, we will be receiving the CAMA permit to start this Phase 2 of the city dock repair. That's been long awaited. I know we've been enjoying the dock as it sits right now, but it's going to be even better, so keep your eyes open for that. Quick question, was anybody going to talk about this tonight in their closing remarks? Okay, then I'll leave that to Alderman Mostutler. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Next up, Mayor's comments. They are brief. First, it is such a pleasure to be able to wish my father-in-law, William Elliott Sonny Hickman, a happy birthday today. Born in Dozier Hospital on this day, 1932. His father, legend has it, his father carried his mother up those steps. If anyone has seen pictures of the original hospital, he was so excited, picked her up, ran her up the steps to the second floor of the delivery room. They were young, most young at that time, and so I want to wish him a happy birthday. And of course, that's Tish's father, so we're grateful for that. Secondly, fire department, fish fry tomorrow, I understand. I read that in the paper. Catfish, you can call the number 457-7915. It's $10 a plate. Third, on October 30th, there's going to be the ceremony of remembrance for the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Cape Fear River Pilots Association, and that will be in the old Smithfield Burial Ground. So we look forward to that and look for that in the paper, in the pilot, and also on our website. And last, wish everyone a happy Halloween. It sounds like the city has many activities that we can all join in and enjoy that special holiday here in the village. So thank you. The staff reports, they're in your agenda packet. Any comments from staff? Any further comments on that? Okay, thank you. Board comments. Alderman Allen. Okay. Alderman Sharkey.
Yes. First, I talked with Chief Drew, the fire chief, tonight, and he asked me if I'd pass along that trunk or treat at the fire station will happen on October 31st, Halloween, from 6 to 8 p.m. And if anybody's feeling generous, they're still seeking donations of candy that can be given out that night. So if you have a bag of candy that you can drop by the fire station before the 31st, it would be very appreciated. The other thing that I want to address is I have a response concerning neighborhood talk. I had neighbors ask me about a Facebook post on the Southport Locals page over the weekend about the possibility that there would be action taken by the Board of Aldermen on the Indigo Phase 2 project at the November meeting. And this is my response. This is the Uniformed Development Ordinance, and it outlines the procedure for which we would entertain any action on a development like the Indigo Phase 2 project. First off, what happened is it would have to be submitted to the UDO administrator, Thomas Lloyd, and Thomas Lloyd would make sure that we follow the procedure. Also, the property owners, Bald Head Limited, who's the owner and the developer of the property, understands what's expected of them to file a major site project, and they would not ask the Board of Aldermen to take action on anything outside of the procedure. Right now, they are conducting the traffic study that involves multiple intersections, state roads, city roads, and the like, and they do not have that report ready yet. So they would not be able to submit their submittal of a plan until they have that information. It's just discouraging that there's this kind of information that goes out and there's a doubt that we would not follow the procedure. We have a procedure, it's the ordinance, and we're going to follow it. It doesn't matter who's sitting on this board. I have confidence that that procedure is going to be followed. And it starts with the proper submission of a plan, and then Thomas Lloyd, the planner, is going to shepherd that along to the appropriate steps with the appropriate review, including the planning board and everybody, before it'll even come to this board. And I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that's the procedure, and there's no intention of anybody bypassing it on behalf of the Board of Aldermen or the people that would be submitting that plan.
Thank you, Alderman Sharkey. Alderman Spencer.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you acknowledging Leonard Bradshaw. Leonard just recently came on with us probably 6 months to a year ago because of maybe FEMA money or something like that. Always had a smile, a friendly wave. Absolutely sad to hear about Leonard, and condolences to his family. And Miss Mary Ann Gore, we knew her as Mademoiselle Gore because she was a French teacher. I did not take that class. You can see that, Sergio, right? Siegfried, I'm sorry. So Miss Gore lived right here at the corner, right in front of the city pier, and they were really institutional family here for a long time, and we're going to miss her. Breast cancer awareness. I'm proud to say, I'm blessed to say my mother has survived breast cancer probably 25 to 30 years. And it did a number on her, but she's still here kicking, and I thank God. Southport employees are the best. We can sit up here and we can make policy, that kind of thing, but they're the ones that get it done. And hopefully we can stay out of their way and let them get things done. So, because they did things like get our fund balance back in order. They helped us get things in order, so I really appreciate them. I want to say thank you to Todd Coring. He is a good police chief. He's also been a good servant to the community, and sometimes we put things in front of him that we have to hash out, and I think sometimes he probably wants to pull his hair out with some of the things we give him. And I want to thank Gene Thomason for acknowledging that we have a heritage, and it's not a tourist heritage, it's a working heritage. So really appreciate him doing that. Happy birthday, Mr. Hickman, one of the true Southport residents that's been here a lifetime. So thank you so much. Look forward to the election and seeing what happens.
Thank you, Alderman Spencer. Alderman Davis.
Thank you. Couple of things. To further comment on Alderman Sharkey's remarks, I too saw that post, but most of all, I saw dozens of emails asking me what about this. So I've made some inquiries, and I can't say that this is for sure, but it does appear that the misinformation began with the representative of the project that would be coming. And it could be a misunderstanding of what he said. I don't know. I certainly wasn't there, but it started with that. I mean, it just didn't get hatched out of thin air. On another topic, great news about the dock. Mr. Woodrow Wilson, who is sitting here, he and I both live where we see everything that's going on the dock, and I can say that since we opened that dock, there are people using it dawn to dusk and even later. That it is what we had hoped for, that people would come back, fish, crab, just hang out there. That's a wonderful city treasure, and I'm so glad that we're going to be able to finish it properly. Finally, the Smith Cemetery, John N. Smith Cemetery. If you can't make it this weekend, this Saturday, that's the official, ceremonial ribbon cutting. And what you'll find in there is signs telling you some of the information about who's there. People, the business people, the veterans, the educators, many of the information about the burial traditions and practices. And it is truly a city treasure. When you go in there, you begin to really understand your heritage here in Southport. So if you can't make it on Saturday, come another time. The gate is always open. But don't bring dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Davis. Alderman Lombardi. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. Southport Animal Protective Services is partnering with the nonprofit organization Paws Ability to help with their pet food program, Paws Pantry. To provide a donation location here in Southport, the Paws Pantry program provides pet food to Brunswick County food pantries to ensure that food insecure families will have a consistent source of pet food too. It has been particularly popular and successful. It has been a particularly popular and successful partnership with the local Brunswick County food pantries with an estimated need for 800 pounds of pet food this month of October alone. The Paws Pantry donation bin is located on the front porch of the Indian Trail Meeting Hall at 113 West Moore Street. We can also donate through Chewy and Amazon wish list. Please check the Animal Protective Services page on the city's website for all the information. And lastly, for you and your pet, get ready. It's time for the 5th annual Sydney's Halloween Bowser Bash. Next Saturday, October 23rd, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This year, it will be held on the Garrison Lawn. The main attraction, the pet costume party, will be costume contest, which is kind of a party, will be held at noon. However, be sure to come early because there is fun for all kinds of events. The kissing booth, built by our very talented Alderman, Tom Lombardi. The Halloween photo station, tricks for treats, raffle prizes from generous local vendors, and lots of spooky fun. The organizers are asking for a $5 donation to participate in the costume contest, and all proceeds will benefit Paws Ability. So please, again, that's next Saturday, October 23rd at 11 o'clock. The fun begins on the Garrison Lawn, so be sure to be there. And even if you don't have a pet, come, because it's so much fun to watch.
Question, the kissing booth, do we get to kiss Tom?
That's on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah, I need to know. I need to know.
Well, that was a great report and a great way to end our meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.